having big deal energy is your certainty about yourself and your business, that beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're the company that can serve them better than anyone else. And when you come with that certainty and that belief in what you do and what your team does and how you can accomplish it, you're going to be able to connect with people at a different level.
All branding is personal. And it's not about who you say you are. It's about who you are and how you say it. I'm Hirsch Redroot, copywriter, comedian, and brand voice expert. I've helped hundreds of companies fine-tune their messaging, and now I'm sitting down with some of the most ambitious and imaginative founders around who share their seven-figure stories and their next-figure goals. Let's hit the brand voice runway. Hitting the brand voice runway with me this morning is David Asarnow, CEO of Business Nitrogen, a growth agency that is truly explosive. I have to say, I love his site. I love his social. And one of the things that we'll jump into right away is his sense of fun and play. But let's first, everybody welcome David Asarnow to Brand Voice Runway. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Hirsch. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, man. So yes, let's talk about this. I have heard you reference the work that you do and the business that you engage in, helping 7- and 8-figure companies get to the next level, grow even bigger and in the right directions. But I've heard you mention it as fun, as a playground. Just expand on that a little bit, if you would.
Well, if we're going to do something, you might as well have fun doing it. And I believe that we should enjoy the people that we're working with as well. It's funny that you even bring this up, because the social post we have going out today, it's not just about money. It's about who we work with. Money is just a magnification of the value you provide. And I want to know about the people that we work with. Why are they doing what they're doing? Who do they want to serve? Why do they want to serve them? And to me, I become friends with our clients. So for me, if someone just says it's all about the money and driving, great, that's good for you. We're probably not going to work together. We're not going to work together.
Yeah. On my website, I have a little drop down with questions that people might want to know about me rather than have like a real dry bio. So one of the first questions is, who do you work with? And they probably think when they click on that, it's going to be like, and I do put the names of some of my clients, but I put unknown, brands and clients right there up against, blue chip clients. It's not about that. But the first thing I say is people I like and admire. That's who I work with. And that's been my mantra for 2 decades, because our time is precious. I think everybody feels that way. But, I also did an exercise several months ago where we were asked to write down the one thing that we can't live without, like in terms of work, in terms of our work setup. What is the one thing we can't live without? And I really kind of crunched my brain on it for a while, because I wanted to pick a word that really, really fit. And the word I picked was play. And I realized, and I didn't even know that about myself, that I needed it that bad, that I couldn't do what I do without a sense of play. So I was happy to learn that, if you would ask me, what can I not live without, like out in the, like in Naked and Afraid or whatever, we're out in the jungle, it would be Neosporin. But, but that's not how we survive.
That's from all the pricklies. Barefoot. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I don't know. I like to think that I would survive. How would you do out there?
I'd like to say that I would survive.
Yeah.
But all the bug bites and the ants, and I don't know. I love the mountains and I love hiking. I'm not a camper. So I haven't done camping since I was a kid. And so I probably would fail on that regard. But on the side of having a ball all the time, I would be up there at the top. I would get it.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly.
I'd have fun. I'd be joking around in the back of my mind. It's funny. My son's totally opposite. He'll go on a 10-day hike in the wilderness with a tent, some water, and very little food. And he'll do that all by himself. And he's done that before. And he's, doing it right now. And
Right.
different people, different strokes for different folks. But
That's right.
all the time. I mean, that's one of my core values is in the company. It's habit. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And now let's try to help people a little bit who are listening, who are also fun people. I know, listeners, that you are fun people, but you also are like, okay, what about the growth? And how do you help people get to the next level? What's your strategy, in other words? And I'm sure there are different strategies for different people, but what do you think it takes?
I would say that it takes knowing who you're serving, why you're serving them. It goes down to that fundamental basis, because if you're going to create brand messaging, as you know, you have to know who you want to serve. And then how can you, knowing this question, how can you serve them better than anyone else? And if you know who you're serving, how you can serve them better than anyone else, you can put together a positioning and then start providing the value. And then one of the things that so many people try to do is especially when you're doing marketing today, we have, with the invent of the internet, and you see people are on their phones all day long, they're texting, they don't want to talk to people. And so I truly believe you need to be able to take that online relationship and take it offline, especially when you're looking at 7 and 8 figure companies that want to take it to that next digit or that next level,
Right.
tier within that. You have to figure out how you're going to tell big deals or high ticket offers. And in order to do that, you've got to be able to serve people differently than just buy, click, and go into a membership site.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the big deal energy thing. You got to have BDE. You got to have the
Did you see did you see my social post that I put yesterday?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it literally and figuratively and, like Instagrammably. But talk about big deal energy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mindset. It's having big deal energy is your certainty about yourself and your business, that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're the company that can serve them better than anyone else. And when you come with that certainty and that belief in what you do and what your team does and how you can accomplish it, you're going to be able to connect with people at a different level. People, is it belief? What is it? To increase certainty, you have to know that you can serve people, how you're going to do them, and make sure that you know that the results are going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that another thing that you mentioned was, what's more important, belief or confidence? Right. That was another post.
Yeah.
What's more important, belief or confidence? And you pointed out that if you really believe in something, if you really come in
confidence
with
is there.
Confidence is there. Confidence comes from belief. The other thing that I think it comes from is preparation. Preparation. And I learned this as a comedian. I learned it as a brand, expert, that prep is what gives you the confidence to go out and break the rules. Prep is what gives you a chance to do it a little differently,
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was just, and that's something that happened. Very few people prepare.
Yeah.
Obviously I can tell now that you've prepared. You've watched my social post up through today. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can have this conversation, but the only thing you haven't brought up that, my kids call me a mushroom because I'm a fun guy.
Because you're a fun guy. Okay. Since I am a comedian by trade.
And I'm not.
And you're not, would you be okay with me even enhancing that joke a little bit?
I certainly would.
That you kill it. Okay. So when we say fun guy, right? Yes. We want to make sure they get the joke. But at the same time, if you say fun guy with the accent, with the emphasis on the second syllable, it's an even better delivery because they still should get it.
Most people don't. It's interesting, though. Most people don't.
That's okay. They feel stupid, not you. And then you have leverage over them.
Well, it's the truth. My kids, for Father's Day, I got a T-shirt. It was my dad and had a picture of a mushroom, and underneath it said FUNGI. Yeah,
that's great. And so it's a mushroom, and it says FUNGI, or it says FUNGUY.
GUI. My dad's a fun guy, like is in the mushroom. Is a
right.
yeah.
Right. I know, but okay. Well, whatever. It's a pun. It's
a
simple
pun. We're just having fun.
We're not here to analyze
puns. And I'm the king of corny jokes, or dad jokes, I should say, not comedy jokes. So, but by the way, to answer your question earlier, what do we need to do? We use frameworks. And so our momentum framework is designed to attract people on the front end and add value. I'll give you an example. So many people give a lead magnet and then they'll put them onto a webinar, especially the kind of people we work with, thought leaders and people who are selling high-end products and tickets. And so many times when we bring people, they try to go to an opt-in to a $25,000 or $50,000 sale without building a relationship, without adding value. And one of the things and the fact of the matter is, the longer you can go without asking someone for money, the more that you're going to make on the back end. And the longer you can add value to people, the longer that you can set yourself up as an expert and people feel that they know you, they like you, and they trust your company or your brand, it makes it easier on the back end. Because if people then go to a challenge or they go to a webinar and they request an appointment with your team, they're already pre-sold. And I often tell clients that if they're willing to take in half an hour, 45 minutes out of their time to do a deep dive, they've already said, I need that help. I'm willing to spend the time. The question is, how are you going to remove yourself or your company out of the way so that way they move forward to whatever it is that they want and how you can serve them? So on the front end, one of the things we're doing with the client right now is indoctrination. It's a 30-day text, one text a day, one tip a day to help unlock challenges, the unconscious blocks that we have that hold us back from wealth and success. Great. Why? Because beforehand, they were going directly from an ad to a sales call trying to sell someone on a $25,000 program. They were having some success, but not the success that they want. So it's little tweaks, little tips. The other thing I came up with this client is, a morning process and an evening process. They can get that text to them every day. They can listen to it. Why? It's value and it's indoctrination. They hear this person's voice. They start listening to it. So when they go to a live one-day event or go to a virtual event, they feel like they know that person. And I found this out about 14 years ago when I actually had a YouTube funnel. It was early on, obviously. 2000, I drove people to a YouTube video and from Facebook ads. I was running Facebook ads starting in September 2008. And we drove people to a landing page that had a YouTube video. When people would opt in, they would talk to our head of sales. And if they were a right fit for our franchise, they get an opportunity to speak with me. And they said, I feel like I know you already. Now, granted, I was one of the first people who was using YouTube videos embedded in the funnel back then, but it hasn't changed. That's why podcasting works. That's why YouTube shows work. That's why long form content works better in building a relationship than all these 30-second, 60-second videos.
Yeah.
So we take this concept and we apply it into a framework or a flywheel. So we get all of this, then we put them into the attractive character flywheel, where the brand is the attractive character, or the thought leader is the attractive character. They start to build that relationship to then bring them to some kind of dramatic demonstration. And by that, I mean, sort of like, if you think about it, P.T. Barnum did it the best, getting people out of the mindset of what was going in through the Depression. He had this idea, and how did he attract people when it didn't work in the beginning? He created dramatic demonstrations. It was the strong man. It was the elephant man. It was the heavy person, and all of those things to be able to attract people there. And then it turned into lions and tigers. And I used to love the circus when I was a kid.
Me too. Yeah.
But so the question is, what do we need to do today in order to be able to create those in an online manner that get your ideal client into your flow or funnel, to see how your company, your product, your service, your concept, your idea can serve them like, you can serve them better than anyone else. Then we get to earn the right to make an offer to them. And that's what we do. We take our clients, we start putting them through the lens of this framework. And we say, what can we do? How can we do it? How can we do it differently? I don't necessarily have to blow up everything that everyone's doing right now. I start looking at what are they doing that's working well? And then how can where in our framework does that work? And where do we plug in the other things?
That's fantastic. I was going to say that, yeah, there's a lot to process there. That's wonderful. With regard to the circus and P.T. Barnum and distractions, all these things, what we call distractions, what we think are distractions. I don't think that entertainment like that is distraction. I think it's stimulation. I think it stimulates our ideas. It takes us away enough from the problems, like you talked about the depression, the fact that if you can get people's attention during those days, if you could distract them during the real crazy times. And it's not even so much about taking them away completely. It's about taking them away so they can think about the other stuff, so they can see the forest for the trees,
and see different possibilities.
Yes.
And because if you're constantly focused on everything in one direction, and if you're looking at, okay, yeah, are we in an interesting economic time?
Yeah.
And if you're constantly focused in on that, where's your mind going to go? Where's your business going to go? Versus if you can take yourself out and see the possibilities. And that's what P.T. Barnum was able to do for people back then. It got people dreaming. It got people thinking differently. And
right.
I wouldn't say that he's the reason for the turnaround, but he made people feel differently.
Yeah. And how else are you going to get there but to feel differently, to change? And that can happen to us any given morning. Some days I get up and I'm feeling great about things, and some days I'm not. And it's like, I don't know exactly what's going to be in my head, but what I have learned is whatever the case, I'm going to roll with it. Exactly. I'm going to not be surprised, even when I'm surprised. I like the 30-day, the tips for unblocking the unconscious, blocks. Because, man, we have so many. Will you do me a favor? Do me a favor. Send me all 30. Just send me all 30. I could use
I can send you the link and you can opt into it.
I can opt into it. Yeah, that's, by the way, that was a test. I knew David was a pro. If I say to him, hey, can you do me a favor? And he says anything. Oh, yeah, just send me those. Send me all 30. Or what is it? You just kind of wait quietly for that half second.
Here's the thing. If you get one every day, it gets you to think differently. If you get them all
every day,
you don't get to. I mean, it's how do you change your mind over a period of time? How do you change your viewpoint? Yes, we could have a bad day, but here's the great thing. If we wake up with something that's challenging, if we have a process, if we have a routine, if we have our daily setting our intentions, or even say, what is something that I have to be grateful for? It can take us out of that funk and focus in on creation.
Well, in all seriousness, do send me the link and we'll put it in the show notes, because I think that this notion of what you just pointed out about repetition and time is something that, another thing that we, and 30 days is not, technically it's not a long time, but we don't know how much time we have.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that is a thing that drives a lot of us, certainly the people who listen to my shows. It drives them because, well, I told you about Truth Tastes Funny, the show I started right at the tail end of this pandemic, it's a year ago now. So it's been a long tail. But the fact is, we are prepared now for the notion we don't know what's coming day to day. And we don't know how grave things can get, or how beautiful they can be, or how amazing they can be. But we know that there's an impetus to just jump in there and do it. What is a resolution that you have? Let's say it's not December yet, but what is a resolution that you have made for yourself, maybe for the next 12 months, something that you really want to get done, check off, make it happen in the next 12 months?
It's a great question. And it circles back to the conversation. I don't know if it was before we started today, officially started today or not. And one, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in setting the plan and implementing that plan and adjusting that plan on a daily and monthly basis, because our minds change. And and the fact of the matter is, most resolutions don't work. And unconsciously, if we set a big goal for ourselves and we're halfway through it and we haven't even scratched the surface, unconsciously our mind doesn't believe that we're going to be able to achieve it. So if we able to chunk it down into small things. But here's something that I've done, and it was a commitment that I've made to my team and my daughter who works on my team. They've been asking me for 3.5 years to put out content. So if you notice, because you've gone on my feed, it's all happened in the last 30 days. So I've been filming. The interesting feedback that I've been getting from people that was a surprise to me was thanking me for putting out these short little videos and these little tips on business and sales and marketing and psychology of success. I'm getting messages, text messages from people, Instagram private messages. Thank you for sharing this. So I obviously, and my team saying, see, we told you needed to do this. So what am I committed to? I'm committed to putting out content. I'm committed to sharing. I will be relaunching a podcast. What it's going to be or how it's going to be, I'm not sure yet. And I'm going in the next week, we're sitting down, we're going to create our long form content plan versus just the short form videos. So I've been filming a lot. And so we're going to continue to put out content to add value. And here's the reason why. We are in an interesting time. And the interesting thing, if you look at any time in history, when downturns happen, the greatest opportunities also present themselves, but you have to look for them in order to be able to see them. So as much as I can add value to people, I want to add value. I'm just having fun doing it. And so that's my plan. I wouldn't call it a resolution. It's a plan that we're working on and developing on a daily basis.
So when are you going to tell me more about your podcast? You're like, this is kind of not like, it doesn't have to be on air.
We don't know. I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I don't want to use Get Naked in Business.
Right. I like that.
So I don't know what it's going to be called yet. We're working on it. We're rebranding the newsletter.
Naked and Not Afraid.
Naked and Not Afraid. Naked and Not Afraid. I believe in planting seeds. From the time I was a kid or teenager, I was reading books about planting seeds. And people ask me, why, even when I was younger, teens and 20s, why are you helping this person? Or why are you doing that? I'm planting seeds. What do you mean? Eventually we'll grow to a forest. And I believe that whatever you sow now, it may come now, it may can't come years in the road. It may not even come in my lifetime. And yet it's about putting value out there.
It sounds like the challenge for you is maybe the getting some of those people to listen to the universe in a way, You mentioned that you have a huge email list and you're going out to people. I don't know if you're doing the same. Podcast does the same thing in a way that email list does, except that you don't necessarily know who's listening. Yes. Whereas with an email list, you know who your audience is.
Well, you can take that offline. And we've done this with a few clients who had, 20, 30,000 weekly downloads. You put a commercial in there and giving, hey, I'd like to invite you to our 30-day text, or I'd like to give you this. If you like this, go to xyz.com right now and you can download it for free. So you can utilize your podcast and the people who are listening to, by the way, podcast is one of the best methodologies for building an audience and indoctrinating an audience, as you know, which is why you're on your third.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that question is, how am I going to, what everybody confronts is, how am I going to grow? How am I going to grow because my audience is my customer base, right?
Sure.
And that's the way it should be. The people who are listening, the people who come, everybody is the ideal customer. That's why we're talking to them.
Sure.
And what we have in common is that a lot of the audience is really the same or the ideal audience.
We target the same people in different ways. I'm not focused in on brand. That's
Right.
not what we do. I'm
Right.
focused in on growth and revenue. Brand is one component of it. We don't redo people's brands. We have a client right now that came to us and said, well, we want this and we want that. And I'm like, listen, that's not what we do. You know, if you want a marketing funnel that's targeting your ideal audience, we can do that. If you want to be the strategy for converting that, but if you're looking at the essence of who you are and the look and the feel, and that's not our specialty. You have to, you know, we can help you find someone else if that's what you want. But we're put this on hold because you don't want to spend the time doing this until that. Like, no, I need this. Like, we'll get this done. But if that's really what you want, you really need to spend the time with someone who's an expert at that.
I work with companies from the inside out, and they say, you know, I say, okay, well, before you brand yourself, find yourself. You know, you got to get down with your bad self, and we got to figure this out, and we got to figure out your messaging. And to your other point, I also like to take people from inside to outside, because like you said, there's a lot of gaps there, whether it's HR or it's you know, what a lot of employees complain. You know, it's one message on to us, it's another one to the consumer, and, you know, never the twain shall meet. You know, it's like the company's not aligned.
Well, that's a culture and a value problem that so many entrepreneurs have. I was just speaking at an event, and it was a mastermind event, and they said, does anyone have expertise in running a remote company, direct experience? And my hand went up, and they're like, what's your expertise? I said, in the past 30 years, I've been in an office 2 years, and they were my hardest 2 years. And then my company's 100% virtual. I want it that way. So I had to, and when COVID hit, I had to design things a little bit differently in order to create engagement at a higher level. And that's where we implemented some of our systems. Like we played yesterday, we played a game on our Monday company meeting, spent 20 minutes playing a game. And it was a guessing game. You put a phrase, someone had to draw that, and you had it, and then it became the game of operator drawing. Okay, what did they draw? So we just like to have fun. And it's a way that in a remote world, we can still have the culture as if we are in an office together with a water cooler.
We play that game at family gatherings. It's like a Pictionary. I don't know what they call it. It's
a digital Pictionary.
We do it in person, but I like the idea of the digital.
And my daughter told me about it. Her fiance works for Home Depot, and they play it together with their team. And so I'm like, well, we'll try it out. And now we've done it 3 times.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been great. I mean, I really appreciate your time and everything. And
yours as well. Thank you for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. If you've enjoyed this episode of Brand Voice Runway, please leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast. The positive reinforcement keeps us going. Who am I kidding? Founders like us keep going regardless. Thanks so much for listening, and make tomorrow greater than today.